Did you blink and last year was over? Do you want to make sure next year counts? What about making it feel like time is moving slower next year? Let's talk about a Misogi. Misogi is a Japanese Shinto ritual for spiritual purification, traditionally involving washing the entire body in cold water from a waterfall or river to cleanse physical and spiritual impurities and foster renewal. Nowadays, there's a modern update to this Misogi definition, and that is to conduct one big year-defining challenge, so you have something to show for your 365 days. Why is it important? A, it's important to have something to show for your time. Think about last year. Is there a particular thing you achieved? Do you feel like you spent your time wisely those 365 days? And B, if you have something on the calendar that you are working towards that's challenging, you'll show up to life and work completely differently. If you think, I'm going to run a marathon in 2026, then this North Star will guide my behavior. Think about things like you're at the pub, your friend says, do you want another pint? You say, no, I've got to run tomorrow morning. If I were doing a 2-hour run on a weeknight, I'm going to leave work promptly that day so I can get home, put my shoes on, and hit the roads. Quick McDonald's breakfast or porridge in the morning, I'm going to go grab my porridge. So these are the kinds of things that you can kind of hang your hat on and say and identify with. And we'll get into a little bit more about identity in a second. A typical Misogi must have at least a 50% chance of failing. These are things that should be so challenging that it's difficult to accomplish them. The idea being that they're so difficult that in order to accomplish them, you have to expand your idea of what's possible. It should be so hard that by the end of the year, you have to become someone different to achieve your Misogi. This is an important point. Don't cheat yourself by making it too easy. Like I said a second ago, it has to have at least a 50% chance of failure. This is if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to run half a marathon. Is there a reason why you're not going to run a marathon? If there's a legitimate reason, of course, fine. But if that jump from one to the other is only going to move you from a small probability of failure to a 50% probability of failure, do the marathon. Okay. And here's another one. Don't brag about it. People get a dopamine rush when we tell others about what we're going to do. However, if you enjoy that dopamine rush up front, when push comes to shove, you won't be able to push through the pain because there'll be no subsequent reward. There's a couple of schools of thought on what a modern Misogi should be. Most people point to physical challenges, but Jesse Itzler, the American entrepreneur who popularized this concept in modern day culture, says it can also be creative, entrepreneurial, or physical, or whatever else might drive you. The key to the Misogi is that it must be so hard that it radically defines what's possible, or at least your definition of what's possible. It rewires what you think is possible in the future. Okay, so let's talk about reference points. So building up a Misogi or regular Misogis will help you build up a series of reference points that you can look back on when you come up against a big challenge in the future. You can remind yourself of the accomplishments that you've made in the past. For me, I couldn't run half a marathon. I couldn't ski. I couldn't build anything online and get paid for it. But I went out, dedicated my mind and body to those challenges and did them. So now, when I look ahead to future challenges, I've built up reference points that prove that I can go out, train, and go after some seriously challenging things and actually achieve them. Jesse Itzler, interestingly, can use these reference points to go back up to 20 years and name exactly what he did as his Misogi for those prior 20 years. He's in his mid-50s, by the way. These reference points can have another benefit. They can feel like we're slowing down the clock of life. As we age, fewer experiences are truly novel, and the brain tends to compress repetitive and familiar events, making them seem shorter in retrospect. I've not done a Misogi challenge officially, but a few years ago, I learned to ski. I booked a holiday 3 months out. I put it on my calendar and I enrolled in skiing lessons at an indoor slope near London. As an adult, we don't regularly learn new skills. Learning a skill as an adult is novel in itself, but more broadly, this challenge forced me to go to new places, break old habits, i.e., whatever I was doing in the evening that I would have otherwise been, watching television or whatever, meeting new people, and of course, learning a new skill, skiing. As adults, when we're doing the same old thing every day, we don't create many new memories. But on vacation, for example, we create numerous ones because everything we're experiencing is new. Children, on the other hand, experience time moving much more slowly, partially because everything is novel to them. Their first bike ride, their first day at school, first time seeing snow, etc. And unfortunately, as adults, we fall into routines where our brains essentially go on autopilot, and these repeated experiences don't get encoded in memory as richly. I.e., have you ever thought about when you finish work, you kind of like blink and suddenly you're like sat at your kitchen table? You somehow like blanked out on that whole commute home just because it's so familiar. But yeah, that's kind of that playing out on a daily basis. So by picking a Misogi and committing to it, you'll find yourself learning new skills, traveling to new places, breaking routines, and meeting new people. As the journalist Josh Foyer wrote, monotony collapses time, novelty unfolds it. The more you can inject genuine newness into your life, the richer your memories become and the longer your life feels when you look back on it. So why not start with a Misogi in 2026? Let's try and use this year. Let's make 2026 your bitch. Is there anything in particular that you might want to try to achieve in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've never heard of the conceptualization of a Misogi of signing up to a challenge that on starting you've got a 50% or greater chance of failure at. But it does make me think of school. And at the start of each school year, if you were to take the end of year exams, you'd fail them with much higher than a 50% probability. But through application, dedication, and all that stuff, what starts off as less than 50% chance of success becomes hopefully a really, really high probability of success. And I think another domain where I guess I've been doing things that are analogous to Misogis is competitive sport, where often you're playing a zero-sum game, and within an individual match, for one team to win, the other has to lose, and then within a league table, for one team to win, whatever it is, 10 others have to lose. So just if all teams were equivalent, then you've got whatever that is, a 1 in 11 chance, less than 10% chance at the start of the season. So I guess I've sort of used Misogi type odds of, seemingly unfavorable odds to inspire development and progress in the past. As for doing a Misogi this year, you've put me on the spot through my total inadequacy of prep for today's episode. But things that I would like to have accomplished and look back on at the end of 2026, I'd like to have completed my postgraduate diploma in sports and exercise medicine. Not sure if that counts as a Misogi. It's probably too easy, just given that I'm 2/3 of the way through and it seems quite doable. Maybe a bit harder. No, I haven't got one where I'm looking up, stood at the bottom of the mountain thinking, how the heck do I get up there at the moment? But how would have you got a model or a framework that I can build a Misogi with?
Yeah. So it has to be something that naturally drives you. It's just something you're compelled to do. Um, However, whatever it is has to be so challenging, as we said, that there's more than 50% or more chance of failure. I think a lot of people use physical ones because it's something you can easily mark on a calendar, i.e., I will do a race, I will do a whatever, an Ironman or a particular, like a high rocks, I don't know. That is a particular physical challenge. I think the way that Jesse expands on it and kind of applies it to further than just physical challenges means that it doesn't have to be an event because all those things are events. It could just be a date that you pick yourself, i.e., by this date I will have done X, which kind of helps a little bit more of like the creative or entrepreneurial challenges. But I would say as well, one of the things I said as part of this is you probably actually shouldn't be bragging about what your plans for your Misogi are. So you're also kind of off the hook in terms of having to decide it right now. But do go ahead and share if you have thoughts.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because when we were speaking about James Clear's Atomic Habits and the lessons from that, we spoke about accountability partners and declaring your intentions. I guess there's a very fine line between declaring what you intend to do so that somebody else can hold you accountable and that you actually do it, and just getting all of the feel good about declaring a genius idea without actually having to follow through on it. So yeah, how do you think we walk the tightrope there?
I think it's hard. And it's kind of like the message James Clear sends is by doing lots of small things over a long extended period of time, then you will become a different person. And that's including the shift of identity as well.
Mm.
Whereas with this, it's almost more aggressive. It's more like within a period of time, and a year is not long, like relative to James Clear talking about the compounding effects of small habit changes, then I do wonder if the messages are a little bit different. And maybe it's just a way of like kind of focusing the mind on a particular thing. Because I don't know about you, but when I see something in my calendar at work, like might not be the best at working towards it until I see like the clock is like ticking off and I'm like, oh, okay, right. Now I need to pull my finger out and do this thing because it's going to happen in 2 days' time. And I know I need a whole day's worth of prep to do it. So I just wonder whether the two are a little bit different in a way, or maybe the Misogi is just like a slightly more aggressive version of this. But yeah,
Well,
what?
I guess we've got a time bookends around it, haven't you? You've set yourself
Mm.
a specific measurable goal. You're talking about, one of the reasons why people do physical ones is because you can basically measure it. Like if I'd said, I want to be a good father in 2026, like how do you measure that? How do you conclusively strike that off on the list and say, yeah, I did it? But if it was, I want to bench press 140 kilos, like you either did or you didn't. And it's so easy to say, isn't it? It's so concrete. Because you've got quantitative data basically to say, I did the thing. Where it's qualitative and you want to be good at something or better at something, like it's pretty hard to draw the line in the sand and say, yeah, I actually did that. I definitely did that. But I think what I was getting at is how do we state our intentions, declare it without basically shortcutting having to do the thing to feel good about having said it. And I think one of the things that I often think of is basically ideas are just 10 a penny or 100 a penny. Like there's so many great ideas that if someone were to do the work and follow through on, it could change the world. But ideas themselves don't. It's ideas that drive behaviors that drive change. So I think that's the thing for me, just reminding myself if I am going to declare my intentions, that actually, no matter how much congratulations or backslapping you get for saying in 2026, my Misogi will be to end world hunger or whatever, you might get a lot of congratulations. Oh, that's a really good thing to be thinking about. That's really so just thoughtful and kind of you to be, taking such a globalist perspective, yada, yada, yada. I think one has to be self-disciplined and say, whatever congratulations I'm afforded for expressing an idea, it doesn't really mean anything because it's behaviors and it's actions and it's consequences that change the world. It's not stating ideas?
So two things. I do totally agree. And I think that's possibly the point of it, like the stating your intention, i.e. putting on a calendar, is why like the events are so powerful, because you're forced to take action if you see on your calendar, I'm running a marathon next week. Or sorry, it's probably too late at that point. But if you see it coming up, then you see, okay, fine. That doesn't require you reaching out to somebody and telling your friends, "Wait, look at me, I'm running a marathon in a few months' time." It's going to be like you are. It's going to be breathing down the back of your neck, saying, "Shit, you need to do some training right now." Um, However, yes, I do also agree. I think actions are ultimately what's going to drive you to achieve what you could possibly achieve in the next year. Um, yeah, sadly, I don't think either of us are Misogis to end world hunger, but perhaps you can try and make some sort of
Well,
positive
there's
impact.
less than 50% chance of pulling it off. So I guess it scores on that one. But in terms of getting it done in a year, probably not. And in terms of getting better at stuff to tip the scales of probability in one's
Yeah,
favor
thank
and
you.
actually having a
Yeah.
95% chance of solving it just by hard work and dedication by the end of the year, probably not going to happen. So I guess maybe then what I'm hearing is accountability partners are good. Stating your intentions and writing them down and concretizing them is good. But to avoid basically shortcutting doing the hard work, one shouldn't go and seek congratulations or affirmation, particularly if you know somebody's just going to be massively effusive with praise. Like, maybe don't choose them to be your accountability partner. If you know that you won't give yourself a lot of slaps on the back for an idea and not following through on it, then you can be your own accountability partner, and you can do that, and you can concretize things, and you can set deadlines that you're going to work to by writing it down somewhere that you're going to see it. Does that follow?
Yeah, it totally does. I think again, yeah, your other accountability partner, to your second point, can just be time. It
Yeah.
can be the event itself.
And
But yeah,
and
totally
there's a
agree.
mantra that I know that you sort of like to go by when you are building on digital products and things, which I believe goes something like "Bad boys build quietly." Is that it?
Bad boys move in silence, but it's close
Bad boys
enough.
move in silence. Right. Given that, and given that if you've got a really good idea that you're trying to implement and bring to market, you probably don't want to hand it out too freely until you've already brought it to market. Is there a Misogi that you can share with us?
Good foreshadowing. Yes, that's partly true. So yeah, my Misogi is to build this particular product and see whether or not it's going to land nicely. That's very cryptic, but yeah, thank you for introducing it in such a way to explain why I'm not going to go into more detail. And also, I don't want to start going ahead and getting kudos for something that I have not finished building by any means. Have not finished building at this point in time. But yes, let me see. How do I do this cryptically? By midway through 2026, to have paying customers using this at some scale to be defined. There's still 3 days for us until New Year's, so I have to figure out what that scale is. Super cryptic, and maybe we'll do a few updates that will be equally cryptic and confusing as we release more podcast episodes in the future. Unless people are sick of them. But there we go. Cool. Okay, so just to recap, a Misogi. What is a Misogi? A Misogi is a year defining challenge where you will be effectively saying in 2026, this is what I want to achieve. It must have a below 50% chance of succeeding. Um, Try not to brag too much about them. The important thing here is to get it done. And critically, you need to put it on the calendar, something to aim for. That can be your North Star to guide your behavior throughout the year. And yeah, the key to this Misogi is that it's going to be so hard that it radically defines your definition of what you are capable of doing. And of course, the nice thing is, by having all these novel experiences, then your time throughout 2026 should effectively feel like it's slowing down. Okay, that's it for this year. And in case anybody hadn't noticed, Owen was here as well. I wasn't just talking to myself. I totally forgot to introduce you at the front of the show, Owen, despite chats.
Hi guys, I'm here.
I think you spent too long outside of New Zealand, mate. You're losing your accent a little bit. You need to go. Hopefully, you'll be back again with those A's and ums, or at least A's. I think the AI cuts the ums. So, anywho, be well and do good.